While most visitors to Scotland flock to the famous Isle of Skye, only a 25-minute ferry ride away lies a lesser-known island. This beautiful, wild and rugged place has a rich but sombre history, shaped by centuries of Gaelic culture and the Highland Clearances. Join me as I explore the Isle of Raasay. Hello from Hallaig on the west coast of Scotland. Today I'm going to be going to an island that I've really wanted to go to for quite a long time. To get to this island, I first need to go to the Isle of Skye, and then from the Isle of Skye I will take another ferry to this island. This will actually be my first ever time going to the Isle of Skye. The reason I've put off going to the Isle of Skye is because I've heard from so many people that the Isle of Skye is so touristy and so popular, but it is really beautiful as well, and that's the reason why everyone goes. I tend to prefer exploring quieter places, lesser discovered places, so that's why I haven't been to the Isle of Skye yet. However, I am really looking forward to going over there today, seeing what it's like. I'll be driving for around 45 minutes on the Isle of Skye before I catch another ferry. The ferry check-in closes really soon, so I need to get going. Okay, there is the Cailmach ferry terminal. This is the same ferry terminal when I went to the Isle of Muck. Okay, so I've arrived 10 minutes before the ferry leaves. I actually tried to book the ferry to go last night. There were 3 sailings yesterday afternoon, but I couldn't book on because it was full. So the earliest I could go was this morning. So if you do plan to take this ferry over to the Isle of Skye, I recommend to book in advance. To get to Skye, you can go on the ferry or you can also go over the bridge. I've never gone over the bridge before, but I'd like to experience that sometime. Okay, they're starting to load on the cars now. There's actually quite a lot of room on this ferry. This ferry is not fully booked. I think there's about 9 vehicles and I'm the only camper van. So I think this ferry takes around 30 minutes, so let's go up and see the views. Made it onto the ferry. Over there is the Isle of Skye. It actually looks quite close. Here is Hallaig Harbour. So if you catch the ferry to the small isles, Muck, Egg, Cannet and Rum, this is also where you leave from. There's the Isle of Egg and Rum in the distance over there. Some of the Cailmach ferries have similar designs, but this one is a bit different. I've not been on a ferry that has this design before. Lots of outdoor seating, but it's quite cold, so everyone's inside. This ferry from Hallaig to Armadale on the Isle of Skye cost me £15.60. That's for a one-way ticket with a camper van and a passenger. The ferry crossing was very smooth with great views. Over there in the distance is Inverie, Knoydart, where I was just a few weeks ago. So if you leave Hallaig, you will head over there towards Inverie. I drove around 45 minutes on the Isle of Skye from Armadale to Sconsor. This is where you catch the Cailmach ferry to the Isle of Raasay. It felt really nice to briefly visit the Isle of Skye, but I'll need to come back again another time to explore it properly. So yesterday I booked my tickets on the phone. I booked my ticket from Hallaig to Skye and then the tickets from Skye over to Raasay, and they said that you can't book a specific time if you go to Raasay on the ferry. It's basically first come, first served, and I seem to be the only person here, which is great, so it means I'll definitely be getting on the ferry. Oh, there's a poster for Elephant Sessions. I actually saw this band a few weeks ago in Glasgow. They are so good. If you're interested in Scottish music, definitely check them out. I wonder if that's Raasay just out the window there, or if that's it further in the distance. There are some toilets here as well at the waiting area. Here are all the ferry times. So originally I'd planned to get the 8:25 ferry, but I wasn't able to get that one, so I'm on the 9:25 ferry. Here's the little slipway. That looks like the ferry over there, so maybe that's Raasay in the distance. That's probably the ferry I'll be getting on. The island that I'm going to doesn't have any campsite or place with electrical hookup for my camper van, but it's fine because my van is set up to operate off-grid. The reason I can use my van off-grid and not have to rely on having an electrical hookup is because of this, my Bluetti AC 200 Max. This is a portable battery and I've been using it for over a year now in my camper van, and along with my camper van toilet, I think it's my favourite piece of kit in my camper van. I've pulled out the battery to show you more closely. I'm using the battery to power my diesel heater with 12 volts. This USB-C is for my laptop. I have lots of USB sockets here for charging things like my phone, my camera and my drone. And then here there's lots of AC sockets, and I use these for powering my Starlink internet, my hair dryer and my hair straighteners. I recharge my Bluetti portable battery mostly using the solar panel that I have installed on the roof of my van, but you can also charge it up when you go to an electric hookup point or from your house using AC power, or you can charge it using the 12 volt cigarette socket inside the driver's area of your vehicle. This battery has a huge 2048 watt hour capacity. It lasts me for days. If you don't know much about DIY, it's all very easy to set up. You don't have to know about 12 volt electrics or get your head around any complicated wiring in your camper van. For Prime Day, Bluetti have some amazing discounts over on their website, which I'll link below. So if you're looking to get a portable battery for yourself, definitely check out the deals that they have. The AC 200 Max has £300 off for Prime Day. Thank you so much to Bluetti for sponsoring this video today, and honestly, I use this Bluetti every single day and cannot recommend Bluetti batteries enough. Now let's check if the ferry to Raasay has arrived. Oh yes, I can see it. Let's go. So I have my tickets on my phone. I got an email when I booked and they'll scan the QR code to let me on. To go over to Raasay with the camper van plus me, it was £9.95. So the vehicle was £7.65 and the passenger £2.30. So that's for a single. So the return is £19.90. It must be quite a short journey. Oh, it's quite a steep hill. This diesel-electric hybrid ferry runs regularly every day. It's called the MV Hallaig, and it's named after a poem by the famous Gaelic poet Sorley MacLean, who I'll be sharing more about later in the video. So we're leaving the Isle of Skye and heading for the Isle of Raasay. The Isle of Skye behind me over there is beautiful. Those mountains are so impressive. We are arriving into the Isle of Raasay now. Wow, that journey was so quick. It's always so exciting going to another new Scottish island. I think the van in front of me is the freight van. I saw them opening it up. Okay. Time to get off the ferry. My first stop on the island is going to be the Raasay distillery. It's around a 10-minute walk from where the ferry docks, and the whisky here is meant to be really good, so I'm looking forward to doing a tour. Raasay Distillery was opened in 2017 by R&B distillers. They produce single malt whisky using both peated and unpeated barley. It offers tours and tastings and has quickly gained recognition for its high quality, complex whiskies, aged in various cask types. Many islanders work at the distillery, which also has an attached hotel. So I finished my tour at the Raasay distillery. It was really great, £20, and the tour lasted for an hour, and you get to try 2 whiskies and also the Isle of Raasay gin. Because I'm driving, I got some samples to take away. Here are the driver's drams. There's quite a substantial amount in each one, which is really great because sometimes you're penalised if you're a driver, but you're definitely not at this distillery. Looking forward to trying these later. So both of the whiskies here are lightly peated, and then this is the gin. I think the Isle of Raasay whisky might have my favourite bottle of whisky. There's actually a small fossil shape on the side, and that's where you can hold the bottle. So it's the same for the small bottles and the big bottles, but yeah. How beautiful are these? The tour guide taped them down because she said that they leak, and actually it's leaked all over my hand, and I think if I put them in my van in the whisky cabinet they might fall over, so I'll probably have to drink them later on today. What a shame. The distillery here on the island is only a 10-minute walk from the ferry, so it would be a fantastic day out to come from Skye. It takes 25 minutes on the ferry, you walk 10 minutes up to the distillery, and then you can do a tour, and then you can enjoy lunch, you can have cocktails. They have lots of incredible cocktails on the menu using the gin and the whisky from the distillery. I'm walking down into the village, and this is where most of the people on the island live. The views over to the Isle of Skye, oh my goodness, look at that. That is incredible. I put off going to the Isle of Skye for so long, but maybe that was a mistake. The current population of the Isle of Raasay is around 195, and Inverarish is the biggest settlement on the island. So the village seems to be home to a primary school. I saw a sign for a community hall, and there's also a shop. So it's open today, and I'm going to check it out. So here's the junction I've reached. There's a telephone box. Probably doesn't work anymore. There's a fire station, there's more houses, and there's a sign for the shop, so I'll head there next. Here in the village you can buy hen eggs and duck eggs here at this honesty box. I already have some eggs in the camper van, otherwise I would have bought some. There's the shop there, so I believe that this store is owned by the community. Let's go inside and have a look. The shop here also has a post office and offers a wide variety of items. Now that I've explored the village, I'm going to head back to my camper van, which is parked at the ferry, and then I'm going to drive around more of the island. The whisky samples, they don't fit in my whisky cabinet here, so it's actually fully stocked at the moment, and I've decided to put them inside my shoe because they don't fit and they're also still leaking a little bit. So I'll drink these later on tonight. I've come to a place, and there's a few places to park here, and then there is a walk starting from here. The walk will take around an hour, and this will go to a place called Hallaig. This location is fantastic. There is some rain forecast. Behind me is the Isle of Skye. It is so beautiful, so peaceful here. Okay. Time to start the walk. So the path is like this towards the village, quite easy to follow. Raasay once had a population of around 1,000, but a series of bad landowners in the 19th century evicted everyone from the fertile south. This forced people to emigrate or make a living in the barren north and nearby islands. Most of Raasay became a sheep farm, then a sporting estate. The few remaining residents were confined to the north, behind a high stone-built wall, which I will visit later in the video. It wasn't until the 1920s that the government and landowners were shamed by land raids and public outcry into allowing resettlement in the south. As I've been travelling more in Scotland, and especially in the Highlands, I'm learning more and more about the clearances, and there were a large amount of clearances that did happen in the Highlands, and I find it a disgrace. To be honest, it makes me very angry every time I hear the stories about this. The fact that humans were cleared to make way for sheep who were seen as being more profitable. It's so sad seeing these houses when you go to different places on islands and in the Highlands. I think in Scotland it should be compulsory that every Scottish person learns about this, because I never learnt about it at school. I went to school in southern Scotland. I know every school has a different curriculum, but this should be compulsory, I think, for Scottish people to learn about, because it's such a huge part of the history of this country. I've now arrived here at the memorial for one of Scotland's most well-known and famous Scottish Gaelic poets. This monument honours Sorley MacLean, who was from the Isle of Raasay and is widely regarded as one of the most important Gaelic poets of the 20th century. His poetry reflects his deep commitment to the Gaelic language and his concern for the decline of Gaelic culture. One of MacLean's most famous works is the poem Hallaig, which is the village that's visible in the distance from this monument. The poem laments the tragic loss of this once vibrant community, evoking the eerie, ghostly presence of the abandoned houses and empty woods. Just a little bit further on from the memorial, I've encountered some buildings here. There's only one, so I don't think this is the village. I'll continue on. It's so impressive, this walk. The scenery is stunning. And then I'm in this little hollow here on the hill. Wow. I've made it to where I believe Hallaig is. It's just over there, and I can make out in the distance some of the ruined buildings. Evidence of houses can still be seen, and it's easy to imagine this place full of families, crops and farmland. In the 1841 census, 129 people were recorded to live in Hallaig. However, 20 years later, in 1861, this had been reduced to a shepherd and a labourer. By 1891, Hallaig was abandoned. The location of this spot is so beautiful. It's got the most incredible panoramic views over the ocean and out to the land in the distance. I think that might be Applecross over there. So I'm not going over to the buildings themselves because I'm not really sure where the path is. I tried to follow the path on OS Maps and it was taking me off-piste a little bit. So there's lots to see on this island. So now I'm going to head to the next place. This island is said to have quite rough and barren terrain, and there's also a hill on the island too. I expect as I drive further north it will become a little bit more hilly and mountainous. Let's get going! It's so exciting to explore a new place. I love going places I've never been before, which is pretty much most places I visit in Scotland. Wow, the views of the Isle of Skye are ridiculous. I feel like I'm driving off the edge here because, oh, there's some land in front. Wow, that is stunning. Oh, there's a little picnic bench. Okay, let's go and admire the view because this is out of control. I parked Ernie Boy in the car parking space there, and the views are unreal. Wow, what a fantastic place to have a picnic. I should have had my lunch here. Oh, the little lambs are quite big now. They're all running. Little sheepy boys. Choo-choo. The island is around 14 miles long and 3 miles wide, and Raasay in Gaelic means Isle of the Roe Deer. I didn't spot any wildlife, but if you're luckier than me, you can see golden eagles, sea eagles, the Raasay vole, otters, seals and dolphins. I've just pulled in. I've been driving along the road from the village probably for about 10-15 minutes, and this is the start of the hike up Duncan, I think it's called. So it says 2.9 kilometres from this point, so that is the highest point here on the Isle of Raasay. Quite narrow. Oh, I hope I don't meet anyone. Come on, come on. Wow. As I'm driving, there's not really any notable sights or that many places to stop. It's more enjoying the experience of driving this road and looking at the scenery on either side. Oh, the road is getting a little bit bumpy now. I've arrived now at a parking space at a place called Brochel, and it looks like in the distance the remains of a castle. There's also a small cottage there, but it doesn't really look like there's a road. Oh, there is. There's sort of a dirt 4x4 style track just in the distance there. So lovely here. Brochel Castle was built in the 15th century by the MacLeods of Raasay. The castle served as a stronghold for centuries, but fell into disrepair and was abandoned in the late 17th or early 18th century. I've now arrived at the start of Callum's Road, and this is probably one of the things that's most associated with the Isle of Raasay. It's an incredible story, and there's also a book about it which I've been reading and I highly recommend. So from this point onwards, I'm going to be entering Callum's Road. Let's go. In my van here, I have my little bookshelf and Callum's Road is here. So yes, that's it there. This is the book, Callum's Road. Highly recommend it. Tells the story about Callum and also history about the island. Hey, we're onto Callum's Road. It's a different surface. So at the side of the road is this memorial here, and the views are like this. On the memorial it says this was a former footpath to Arnish. So Arnish is ahead of here, that's where I'm heading. The distance was 1 mile and 3/4.
Callum MacLeod grew up in Arnish in northern Raasay. At that time the island's road ended near Brockle Castle, and the only way to reach Arnish was by sea or a footpath. Frustrated by the lack of infrastructure and broken promises from authorities, Callum, then in his mid-50s, decided to build a road himself. For 10 years, from 1964 to 1974, he worked tirelessly to connect the northern part of the island to the rest of Raasay, aiming to improve access for residents. Constructing the road was a monumental task, requiring Callum to navigate challenging terrain, battle the elements, and manage financial constraints. Callum persisted despite these challenges, gradually extending the road over several years. After completion, the council was eventually pressured to pave the road.
It's quite challenging terrain to build a road. It's quite rocky, especially on your own, probably without any experience. Wow, super steep. Oh my God, I don't know if Ernie can make it. Oh God. Oh God, I don't think we can make it. Oh, it's so steep. Oh, right, okay, we're in first gear. Oh, I thought Ernie was gonna slide back there. Okay, we're up the hill. Oh, that was a bit scary. I could hear all the bottles of whiskey in the back clinking against each other. The scenery is very beautiful. Okay, let's try first gear. Wow, there's some really quite steep parts. Oh wow, it's so steep going down. Oh my gosh. Wow, this road must have been so challenging to build.
As I was driving along Callum's Road, I came across the deer fence. Using money made from the slave trade, George Rainey purchased the islands of Raasay, Rona and Flada from Clan MacLeod in 1846. Rainey was described as a cruel landlord who epitomised the horror of the clearances. He enacted a rule that nobody should marry on the island, so that the local natives could not reproduce their population. Rainey cleared residents from 12 townships to establish sheep farming. Those not employed by Rainey or the tenant sheep farmer were required to live north of Loch Arnish, a boundary enforced by this deer fence built across Raasay's narrowest section.
The road is really quite steep and the terrain is very rocky and it's so close to the edge. I'm really curious what will be at the end of the road. There's the Isle of Skye in the distance and there's a little beach down there too. Back in first gear. I hardly ever drive in first gear. I think this is maybe only the second time. Wow, it's really steep. I think actually on the way back, it might be even steeper because some of those hills that I went down were very steep. Okay, so I've arrived at Arnish. Made it to the end of the road, the public road. At the end of the road here, there's a little honesty box with eggs and it says seaweed soap. Oh wow, that's so lovely. There's some cards Beautiful. And then these are the seaweed soaps, shampoo bar. I might get one of these as a souvenir. Oh, they smell really nice. So here's the sign that says end of public road. There is this path here, but I don't think even a vehicle could really fit down here unless it was really, really small, because there's rocks there. Maybe a quad bike might be good for this road. I'm going to continue on foot and explore more of the north side of the island. It looks quite rugged and quite remote. There's also something I'm interested to see on the north of the island. Let's go. This is what the little road looks like. It really feels like going back in time, what roads would have looked like a long time ago. So after walking for around 15 minutes, I've arrived here at the old schoolhouse. So this is where they had meetings about the clearances back in the day. It's quite big. So this is where the path splits. So we can go left or right. I've decided to go left along by the coast. There is a small island here that I want to see. As I've been walking, I've passed another building here and it looks like it's being used as a storeroom at the moment. On the way here, I've come across these buildings. One looks like a house and one looks like a storeroom. But over there behind me is the area where the road was built, Callum's Road. Wow, I just came out of the trees. The views over to Skye. Look at that. Wow, I'm really glad I came and did this walk. So I just checked on the map here. So this here is the tidal island, and if I want to continue the walk I need to go back up this way. But as you can see, the tide is actually covering it, so you can't go over at the moment. In 1891, the north of Raasay was home to most of the island's population. The tidal island of Flada had a population of 51. The nearby island of Rona had a population of 181. And there was also a family of 8 living on the small tidal outcrop. So I feel like I want to see more of the island, and actually the one place that I wanted to go on this hike is a bothy at the north of the island, and I'm planning to go there and have a cup of tea or coffee. I've made it to this point here. This is what the path looks like, quite boggy even though it's June. I'm about halfway to the bothy. This walk is spectacular. So far, I haven't met anyone. Let's keep going. So it is majorly boggy here. I'm going to try and somehow get down. I've already been in the bog. Okay, I made it through the bog. It is wild here. Look what happened. Should be okay. It's quite hot today, so it'll hopefully dry off. Here's a lovely little loch here. As I walked through this challenging, rocky and boggy terrain, I couldn't help but think of the people who once lived here and how hard life must have been for them. Nowadays, things are much more positive, with the island now back in control of the people of Raasay. I just came round the corner and I can see the bothy right ahead of me. There it is. Oh my goodness, what an adventure to get here. There is the bothy in the distance. Wow, squelchy it is underfoot. Like that is what I've been walking through. Well, I made it to the bothy, my final destination here on the Isle of Raasay. I really wanted to come up to the north of the island and experience how wild and rugged this place is. Let me give you a tour of the bothy. My first impression is that it's very clean and tidy and it's quite nice. So when you first come in, there is this sleeping platform here. Probably you could fit around 6 people maybe on here. And what's that? Oh, it's a bucket for catching water. I think there's a hole in the roof here. And there is a table. There's a shelf with some books and candles. There's a camp stove. Oh, there's some kidney beans, some ketchup and pepper. Wow. That's a good use of the bottle of Raasay whiskey for the candle. And there's even a guitar in the corner. And here's the fire. There's some wood actually. And here's a table looking out the window. In the guest book here, it looks like no one stayed last night. These people stopped by yesterday by kayak and had some lunch, and then someone stayed yesterday. This bothy book started in May 2023. Wow, here's the old visitor books here as well. Bothy book number 1. Wow, 1995, people have written. That's amazing. I really enjoyed the hike. I'm so glad that I made the decision to come here to the Bothy and see the north part of the Isle of Raasay. I was planning to make a cup of tea or coffee here at the Bothy, but I only have this much water left and I want to keep it for my return walk. The walk from the car park took around 2 hours, so the return journey will probably be similar. So it's around a 4-hour return hike if you do come here, so bear that in mind. And it was very, very boggy, so you definitely need to have the correct type of footwear if you plan to do this hike. I really enjoyed exploring another island in Scotland, the Isle of Raasay. It's a really beautiful place. Thank you so much for watching the video today, and I'll see you next time.